Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I got a brand new video today, and I want to talk about the new 338 Canada election model that has just been updated today, a few hours ago. And so we have some new numbers. So last time I covered this was, I think, 2 days ago or yesterday, and the Conservatives were at about 239 or 238 seats projected. The Liberals are at 41. So they've gone up by 3, and the Conservatives have gone down. Now, I don't want to read into that too much, but what I will point out is that a lot of people were saying, the Liberals are going to eat up some of this NDP support. And while I do believe that is true to some extent, they are now starting to eat up some of the Conservative support. Now, if we take a look right here at the polls, we open this up right here, projections. I'm going to show you guys a simulator too after this, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So the Liberals have actually gone up in the polls. So they're on 22%. They're polling at 22%, I should say. And they are officially back in contention to become the official opposition. Now, I do want to point out that for a while, they were struggling quite a bit. They were in the 30s. They went as low as, I think, 35. That was the lowest that they went. And so the Bloc Québécois was actually projected to be the official opposition at one point. So they were doing pretty well. I'm talking about the Bloc. And the Conservatives were riding very high. They were at, 240, I think, at one point, or 239 at least. And so they are now going down a bit. Now, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It can only get worse for the Conservatives. It can only get better for the Liberals. This is not me saying it. It's simply a fact. The Conservatives have sort of reached their ceiling. I don't think they're going to break 50 points. I think it would be very difficult for them to do that. With that being said, 338 Canada has their ceiling at 258 seats. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I don't think it's likely, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now, their lowest could be 203 as it stands right now. Now, for the Liberals, their highest is 72 seats. So their ceiling is 72 seats as it stands. Their lowest point, so their floor, is 23 seats. The Bloc, on the other hand, which is interesting, by the way, if you really think about it, the Bloc, on the other hand, their floor is 37. Their ceiling is 49. So obviously they have a lower floor and ceiling, but their floor is much higher than the Liberals. So I think that's worth pointing out for sure. And then the NDP, obviously, they're not doing too well. They're at 21. Their ceiling is 33. Their floor is 9. So they're not going to, they might potentially, if all things go as would usually happen, they could potentially lose party status. Now, I want to talk about that in a second because our friend Jagmeet Singh is not doing too well. Now, if we take a look at his riding of Burnaby Central, not doing too well. It's not looking good for him. So he is now down by 4 points in his own riding. So the Conservatives are polling at 38 points in Burnaby Central compared to 34. They've gone up to 71% chance of winning Burnaby Central. That is almost a 75% chance they win Jagmeet Singh's own riding, which he has been in since 2017 or 2018, I believe. And that's not a good sign for him. I'll say that. And, 3 and 4 times you flip a coin, it'll end up being the Conservatives who win. So, not too good for Jagmeet Singh. Now, I do want to look at this really quickly. Take a look right here at this popular vote projection. This graph, look at this, guys. For about 3 weeks or 4 weeks from a month ago, so about, a month and so ago, the NDP for 4 weeks straight was dominating. They were up by a pretty decent amount. They were up by 4 points here. I would consider that dominating in this riding because this riding has been particularly close. So anything above 2 points would sort of be considered dominating. If you take a look at this gap, look at this, 39 to 35. And then you had the whole switcheroo with Trudeau, and look what happened. All of a sudden, they plummeted. And the Liberals, this is a shocker, the Liberals have gone up quite a bit too in this riding. So they were at 20 points on the day that Trudeau resigned, or the day before, and then following his resignation, they've shot up 2 points, and they continue to go up. The highest the Liberals were at was 26. Now, obviously, they've gone down. I understand that, but they've gone up quite a bit. The Conservatives have also gone up quite a bit, so that's another interesting point that I do want to point out. Now, look at the odds of winning. Last week was 70%. I know, big difference, 1% chance higher that they win the riding, but still significant nonetheless, because the highest they were ever at was 82 points, and this is like a year ago. So this is back, 8 months ago, where they were polling pretty high. They were 82% chance of winning. But then they went down. They had this whole fluctuation period. The Conservatives are continuing to go up in that riding, and they're now at 71%. So again, we don't know what's going to happen for sure. Obviously, the election has been called, but clearly Jagmeet Singh has been plummeting quite a bit. Now, I want to go back to this again. Look at these numbers. So the Conservatives have improved by 16 points since 2021, at least for their projected vote in 2025. The NDP has gone down by about 6 points, so that's not too good for them. And then the Liberals have gone down, obviously, by 9 points, but that is much better than where they were at before, which was 11 points down at 20%. Now, here's our fun little thing that we can do. So this is a simulator. 330 Canada has this nice simulator where they basically just put in the percentages and national vote projections, and you could sort of play around with it. And so you get a projection that is just spit out after you put in the numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to base on some polls. I'm not going to base it on one single poll because I think that would be unfair. I'm going to base it on the Mainstreet research poll, which I will try to pull up right here. We take a look right here. Mainstreet research. Yeah, so the Mainstreet research is probably the most accurate one. If you take a look again, I'm just going to show it again. They're an A- rated. I mean, we could go with the Nanos one as well. Fine, we'll go with the Nanos one. This one is at 45 for the Conservatives, 21 for the Liberals. This was, I want to note, about almost 2 weeks ago. So I do want to note that really quickly. So they were at 45 for the Conservatives and then 21 for the Liberals. And I don't really know where the NDP was at 19. Kind of doubt that they'll have 19%, but nonetheless, we'll go with it. Block at 8, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Get the seat projection. Here we go. 35 seats for the Liberals. That's according to the Nanos research poll, which was conducted 2 weeks ago. So that's interesting. So take a look at this number, 235. Same number as the one that we had here, this 235. But the Liberals are down to 35 in this poll. And so the bloc would be the official opposition based on this poll. Now, if we base it on the Mainstreet research poll, which was, I tend to like Mainstreet a bit more because I think they're slightly more accurate. I've seen them in provincial polls. They've been more accurate. So they have the Liberals at 26. We can't put them at 26. We'll put them at 24.4 because they cap you at 24.4. But if we base it on that, and then we put the NDP at 13, that's a big deal. You can't put them at 13. You can only put the 15.2. Anyways, we'll try our best. If we take a look right here, seat projection, almost 70 seats. So yeah, quite a difference. And then the bloc would be at 39. Again. And based on this poll, by the way, the NDP is losing party status. You need 12 seats to be party status. So yeah, it's quite different based on which poll you look at. I would try to put the Ecos poll, but I can't because the ceilings are quite off here. I mean, the lowest you can go for the Conservatives 41, and the highest you go for the Liberals 24, and then NDP, obviously, the lowest you can go is 15. So I can't put in the Ecos numbers. With that being said, I know a lot of people have had questions about Ecos. I am not going to base my projections solely on Ecos. Let's make that clear. So I'm going to base it on whatever polls come out. I'm going to try to cover as many of them as I can. As far as I'm aware, Ecos did release another poll recently, and that was on the 20th, I believe. Or sorry, the 24th, I believe. And so they don't update their numbers that frequently, as far as I'm aware. But if there are any new ones, I will take a look at them, and then we'll talk about those ones. But I want to go back here to the 330 Canada website. I want to look at Christian Freeland's writing. So I can't put in Christian Freeland. University of Rosedale. So Christian Freeland has had quite a glow up in her own writing. And what do I mean by that? Well, look at this. When Trudeau resigned, the day that Trudeau resigned, or the day before, she was at 33 points, the NDP was at 31. And now it's 36 to 28. It's now an 8-point gap. It was a 2-point gap. So for those of you that don't like Christian Freeland, she is probably going to win her riding. She's going to stay in politics. That's pretty much a guarantee at this point. Is she going to win the Liberal leadership? That's another interesting question. I don't think she will. I think based on most polls you look at, it's pretty unlikely that she wins. If we take a look at the betting markets right here, not that I'm a big fan of the betting markets as, you know, a really accurate predictor, but we'll look at it nonetheless. Next leader of the Canadian Liberal Party. And again, Mark Hardy is at 85% chance of becoming the Liberal leader. That is much higher than he's ever been at. So yeah, he's most likely going to win the leadership unless something really drastic happens. Like, he's pretty much guaranteed to win. And so he will be elected, or I should say, the leadership vote will take place on the 9th of March. That is about almost a month and some, about a month and a half or so. So we'll have to just wait until then. But if we go back right here, so that's University of Rosedale. I want to look at Papineau. because I know a lot of you guys like Papineau. By the way, for those who don't know, this is Justin Trudeau's riding. And Justin Trudeau is doing quite well in his riding. So he's now at 33 points. NDP's at 29. He shot up to 80% chance of winning. Now, obviously, there's a lot of uncertainties associated with Justin Trudeau and this career. We don't know what he's going to do. He still hasn't announced whether or not he's going to stay in politics after he resigns on the 9th or the 24th, whenever the new leader is chosen. We don't really know. But what I can tell you right now is that if he does run, he is most likely going to win his riding. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know why he would stay in politics, but that's up to you guys to decide. What do you guys think about Justin Trudeau running for politics again, or at least staying in office to some capacity as an MP or something like that? And then the last one I want to look at is Ahunsik Cartierville. This is Melanie Jolie's, and yeah, she's winning hers as well. She's at almost 90% chance of winning. She's basically guaranteed to win her riding. So many of these liberal individuals who were in the top ranks were plummeting quite a bit, and who were at one point or another losing or projected to lose their own riding, they've been slowly creeping back up, and they've been increasing their vote count, or I should say their percentage, in each of their individual ridings. Now, here's what I'll say. This is 44, fine. The lowest they got, and I just want to go back there to the official thing that I was looking at. I want to go back here again because I really want to cover the lowest number that the Liberals were at, which was a pretty big deal. Yeah, so this is the one. And the lowest the Liberals were ever projected to be at was 35 seats. I'm going to say it right now, it really can't get any worse for them because they've gotten rid of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is the root of most of their problems. If they get a new leader, it's going to be a completely different story. The Conservatives, 238 last week. It wasn't 239, it was 238, my bad. 238 is pretty much the highest we'll ever reach. I'm going to be honest. And so anything below 238, I'm not going to say it's going to be a bad thing necessarily for them. You know, a win is still a win. But anything below 238, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Anything above 238, if on election day that happened, I would be pretty surprised. But I don't think it will happen. Well, you never know. Politics is pretty interesting. It gets pretty crazy. But the story of the day is this, that, first of all, the Liberals have now reclaimed their position as the official opposition, or at least they are projected to. And Jagmeet Singh is being destroyed in his own riding. And that's not an overstatement, because he is literally at a 29% chance of winning his own riding, which is pretty bad, especially when you're the leader of a major political party. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I know I've been receiving a lot of comments about, you know, my coverage of polls and my potential bias and whatnot. And I think those are valid concerns for sure. I'm going to try to do my best to look at all sides. I mean, I think it's definitely fair to assume that ECOS, and just basing my knowledge just on one ECOS poll, is not really fair. So I've taken that criticism, and I've read through your guys' comments. Some of them were quite ruthless, but nonetheless, I'll try to do my best, and I do appreciate the feedback because I think you guys have helped out quite a bit with the channel, so I think it would be right to take some of the feedback and try to apply it to my videos. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.